Arizona Cardinals had their preseason opener over the weekend, and with football season officially upon us, we had to get our guy Baldy back into the fold. Of course, our all-city NFL analyst. You can see him on a daily basis, the NFL Network. Brian Baldinger. Baldy, great to have you back, my man.
Man, Bo, Johnny, it's been a little while, but it sure feels good to be back and talking real football right here, and talking about what lies ahead for your Arizona Cardinals. I'm all in right now.
I don't want to get too dramatic after one preseason game, but the Cardinals do have a lot of young players. Let's highlight the one that you've highlighted on your Twitter timeline, among other areas. Let's talk about Darius Robinson. You know, dating back to the draft season, we were championing for Darius pre and post him becoming an Arizona Cardinal, in large part because you felt like the floor in particular was very high. Like, people argue, does he have the ceiling of Johnny Newton, somebody you were very high on? Does he have the ceiling of some of these other interior defensive tackles? But I always felt like, Baldy, he was going to be an effort player with power and agility that could come in and just raise the bar for this defensive line. Talk to us about what you saw out of the former Missouri standout.
Well, first of all, he's got real NFL size. I mean, I spent time with him at Von Miller's Sack Summit in Las Vegas this summer, and we'd communicated via text, but I'd never met him before until I talked to him there. You know, he's got NFL size. He's got a big frame. If you want to support more weight on and play inside, he can do that. I mean, he's got that ability. Then, that's just the fact that, at the end of June in 112-degree heat, he's out there watching Max Crosby, Von Miller. He's trying to learn from some of these, Cam Jordan. I don't want to compare him to Cam Jordan. Cam Jordan has 124 sacks in this league. But he's got that type of body. He's got length. He's got a big frame. We watched him play basically the three technique in a bare front in part of his 10 snaps the other day. I think he's got real power, real NFL power. And so I just think you need guys that look like defense linemen, guys that have got size, length, height, like guys that can take up space, and yet got their length to be able to use their hands, be able to shed blockers, all the things you got to be able to do to stop the run, and then to be able to affect the pass. I think because he's a well-conditioned athlete, I think you can get a high volume of snaps out of him, on Sundays right now.
He seems to be the perfect package. It's a total package. We talked to him on Monday, and, he's talking about how he's already watched the film, unbelievable amount of time. He was watching on the sidelines because it was finally accessible to him. Like, it's not on the college level. Yeah. He's talking, what did he really like about his debut? He liked his hands. I mean, what could potentially limit somebody like this? As Johnny mentioned, the floor is very high, but what could potentially limit a player of his caliber and his work ethic?
Well, what you're talking about, Bo, is his approach. He's got a real professional approach. I mean, I don't think he's going to be an immature kid. I don't think he's going to, just do things off the field that are just get you in trouble. I don't think he's that kind of a kid. Now, he's young, so who knows? But, for the most part, I think he's very professional. I think he's got a professional approach. I think he knows that he's got to take care of his body. None of these rookies really know what 17 games feels like yet. So, you got to get through, a season and kind of feel it. But I feel like, they did their homework on this guy. I thought they did their homework on a couple of guys last year. I think they're building this thing, like I've said a number of times, not to be a cliche, but brick by brick. And I feel like Darius is going to be one of those bricks that's going to be part of this turnaround that I think the Cardinals have a chance to succeed with.
It's weird because Cardinal fans in the past, we've had to wait on draft picks, sometimes upwards of 3 to 4 years to see whether or not a guy can play. And so there's been a lot of instant gratification with Monty Ossenfort's picks. That's why, when a guy like Isaiah Adams or Trey Benson or Tip Ryman maybe doesn't have the splash plays in their first preseason game, everybody's like, oh no, what's happening with these players that were drafted in the top 100? I want to talk to you about Isaiah Adams, who was thrust out there against what looked like, for the large majority of the game, the Saints starting defensive line. And he had a couple tough snaps. But what did you see out of 74 out of the University of Illinois that maybe will give Cardinal fans hope that, listen, this is a kid with a lot of physical traits. The jump from the Big Ten you're asking a lot for a guy that was a third-round pick for a reason.
Well, not just, he comes out of, Ontario, Canada. He's playing at a community college. He's playing small school. He jumps to the Big Ten, and he has a good season, good couple seasons.
Yeah.
But, what I saw was a guy that battled his butt off. I mean, Brian Breezy's a good player. And, yeah, he got beat a couple of times. But he also finished – he put Breezy on – I mean, if I just did a mano-a-mano look at Adams against Breezy, he battled him all game long when he was in there. And then whoever else was in there. Shepard is a good football player, been in this league a long time. He went up against him a number of plays. So, yeah, honestly, if I could coach him on a one bad snap against Breezy, I say just get off the ball.
Yeah.
Just get off, just give yourself a little space. I did the same thing as a rookie in my first action. I mean, when I saw the play, I'm like, oh, yeah, I did the exact same thing against Big Hand Johnson, against the Chargers. I mean, you just remember these kind of things. He'll learn from that. He'll get off the ball, give himself a little bit of room, be able to use his length on him. I would expect that, as soon as he saw that play, I don't think he needed to be told what to do. I think he kind of knew. So, I saw a guy that was pushing players, moving bodies, got his hands on guys in the run game and moved bodies. I thought it was a pretty promising start. And like I said, I think he played, in the 40s, probably 45 snaps, maybe a little bit more than that. But, he played a fair amount of snaps. And all at left guard where he was in Illinois. So, he looked like a rookie left guard that's got promise to me.
The unfortunate injury to B.J. Ojulari, who the Cardinals had high expectations for a second-year pass rusher at LSU, kind of amplified their need for pass rushers. And in, the game on Saturday, Jonathan Gannon today said Xavier Thomas, the 5th-round pick out of Clemson, jumped off the tape. What was your thoughts on the Clemson product?
Well, he looks like the part. I mean, if they're going to play this 5-man front, bare front, outside linebackers, Xavier Collins, Thomas. I mean, you need guys that can scream off the edge, that can affect the quarterback. And he's got suddenness to him. He's got size, and he doesn't always, he's a rookie. He doesn't always know where the ball is going. Sometimes he's going upfield really fast, and the ball's going by him. But he's going to see more the more that he plays. But I just think from his first varsity action standpoint, he looks like the part. And so, now it's about building the toolbox and seeing more and, just learning how to beat elite athletes at right tackle in this business or wherever he's lined up, left tackles. I just think there's a ton of potential right there with him.
Baldy, I think where people are kind of putting the MO with this team, if they're going to have success, in terms of, vying for a playoff spot is on the offense, right? It's got all the household names. But I look at this defense, and even after one preseason game, they tackle well. They're fundamentally sound. Is there a possibility, albeit after one preseason game, that we're sleeping on a Nick Rallis, Jonathan Gannon defense that is a year in with their scheme, and they've got a bunch of guys coming back, and maybe they don't have those household names, but they have a lot of players with characteristics of just knowing their role and following through with that.
Yeah. Well, look. When you're playing a lot of young players that they're going to play, you're probably going to make mistakes. I'm a big fan of Taylor Demerson, right? Mm-hmm. Demerson Taylor. So he made a mistake in coverage the other day, and they got a big play over the top of him. But I also just saw him stick people, and just literally the play stopped when he hit him. That's what I saw from Texas Tech. I think he's a great prospect, but it's just a question right now of Nick putting together the group, because I think they're going to play a lot of players. Mm-hmm. I think there's going to be a lot of interchangeable parts here, but it's a question of really communication is going to be important. Going up against the teams in their division with elite offenses, you can't make mistakes on the back end. But their safeties are very experienced right here. I'm just looking at a rookie, but I think we've already saw that. There's nothing vanilla about this defense. They're going to blitz. They're going to pressure. You saw the other night against the Saints. I mean, that's who they are. So, it's not like they're going to hold a lot back. But I think we saw last year they played really hard for Nick and for Jonathan. I expect them to continue to play hard. I think that's their identity right now. Then it's a question of, can you get off the field on third down? Can you play good red zone defense? And can you take the ball away? Yeah. Knowing that with a lot of young players you're going to play, you're probably going to give up some plays. But, they held, in those games that they won last year against Pittsburgh, against Philadelphia, they got really stout when they had to. And, they came up with some big wins against Dallas, 3 playoff teams. I think the seeds of how they want to play have been sown.
Yeah, Dadrian Taylor Demerson said he goes by Rabbit. We love it. He doesn't even go by his real first name. It's just Rabbit. And Johnny, actually, we're talking about that big play, the 58-yarder before the end of half. But my co-host pointed out, man, did he bounce back with 2 solid tackles in the red zone there? Seemed like a good head on his shoulders.
Yeah, I mean, I don't, his eyes were probably in the wrong place. Who knows, what he was looking at. But that happens. He was a half-field safety. They lined up and basically covered 2 shell almost every play. But those plays that he made coming out of the goal, coming out of the end zone and making hits like that, he covers a lot of ground. He's going to be a fun guy to watch develop because I think he's going to learn from 2 really good safeties. And so I think he's going to have a chance to get on the field. Everybody is basically playing 3 safeties and certain packages in this league right now. I can see him getting on the field in that kind of a role right now.
Yeah, we trust John Gannon with defensive backs in particular. He's been known to be a little bit of a kingmaker. What about the quarterback position? Clayton Tune versus Desmond Ridder for QB2. Pretty uneventful night Saturday for Desmond Ridder, who I think they would like for him to win the job. But then you've got Clayton Tune, Baldy, coming in, guns a-blazing, really with nothing to lose in the second half, looking much more efficient after year 1 as a rookie with the Arizona Cardinals. How do you make up this battle for QB2?
Well, I mean, look, Desmond had all kinds of opportunities in Atlanta. He could not make it work. Played a lot of football at Cincinnati. We know his background, but he played himself out of a job. And look, Raheem Morris said, if we had better quarterback play, I wouldn't be here in Atlanta. And that's just a fact. So, he's trying to resurrect his career. So I think you're going to get the best out of him. I think it's a good system right there that they have. They can use him. He's a very good runner with the football, but he's got to make better decisions. Clayton is a guy that honestly can play himself into a job. I mean, I think this thing is a long ways from being decided. It's important. Who knows how many quarterbacks they're going to keep? I would think that with Kyler's history, you probably want to keep 3, but who knows? I mean, you can dress 3 right now. But it just depends on, the numbers game for Monty's going to play at the end. But it's important. It's an important position. You're always one play away. So I feel like Clayton can certainly play himself into a position right now.
Last question, we'll stick with the quarterback theme here. Kyler Murray is not going to play at all this preseason. We saw 3 snaps from Marvin Harrison Jr. Big joint practices coming up this week in Indianapolis between the Colts and the Cardinals. How can Kyler and Marvin Harrison Jr. get on the same page between now and the season opener in Buffalo without Kyler playing?
Well, these scrimmages are important. They really are. I mean, it's really what teams are going to right now. I was at one last week, the Jets in Washington, and just watching Jaden Daniels play. He played better in the game than he did in the scrimmage, which is a good sign for Jaden. But, they played in a downpour the whole day, wet ball. Wet conditions, all that kind of stuff. This is where it's going. You got to get your reps in against a really good defense in Indianapolis. They play really hard. You're going to see an elite pass rusher in Latu. You're going to see an elite corner, some really good safeties, great linebackers in Indianapolis. So it's a good test. It's a good test. You'll see, Reggie Wayne will be coaching the receivers on the other side. I'm sure he'll have certain things to say. To Marvin, he probably knew him when he was a little kid. So I'm sure that will be good for Marvin to see Reggie right there in that role that he has now.
We get smarter every week, and I'm fired up, Baldy. Real tangible football to talk about here every week. Yeah. PHNX Cardinals, our NFL analyst insider, Brian Baldinger. Baldy, hope to talk with you soon.
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it next week, guys. Take care, man. Good to join you.